If you feel like you don't fit in where you used to, you're not broken. You're just between versions. And there are actually 4 signs to look for when this happens. Good day to you all, and welcome to Bad Day Excellence, the podcast where we take those messy, chaotic parts of life and turn them into opportunities for growth. I'm Brian Walsh, author of Habitcraft 101, and frankly, your biggest champion. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you tackle the chaos of life, create space, and choose what you want to do next. So today, we're going to talk about how to identify that messy middle that you're in. So let's walk through this. First things first, I want to share a song with you that even just the title resonated with me, but the whole song resonated with me. The title is Okay Not to Be Okay. And this is by Demi Lovato and Marshmello. And I view ourselves like a huge block of granite. When we're born, we're just like blocky, not form. And with every single experience in our life, we make decisions. Our brains start to craft who we are. And much like this statue, sans the marshmallow head, we chip away at who we are and we find out. And sometimes we chip away and then we realize, no, we can't concentrate over here. And that is tough because when we are trying to change who we are, it is very difficult. And sometimes we feel lost. We're without a paddle. So I really want you to understand that, you're in this messy middle. You're changing, but you're not quite there yet. In fact, what's going on? Well, psychologically, your standards change, your identity evolves, your nervous system no longer tolerates what it used to. And why you feel off is because you can only control you. I mean, granted, we would all love to be able to control other people around us, our environments, the world, right? Because it's something that our brains crave. But that environment always lags because we still want to stay where we are, but also evolve. And two things can be true. Our brains want to stay in the comfort zone, and our heart, our just feelings, which is also part of your brain, wants to go somewhere else. And change is so messy and stressful. And like I had mentioned, our brains don't like change. We hate the unknown. The amygdala, the reptilian brain, it says, I love movies, The Croods, right? Grug, the dad, says every story ends up and died, right? Because he wants to induce fear for trying or exploring anything new. And the whole story of The Croods is about expanding and leaning into curiosity and going to tomorrow. And it sounds magical. And I absolutely love the movie. I adore it. It's so much fun. And then they made a sequel, and that was a lot of fun. My whole family will quote it. We love that movie. Right? Well, first of all, we're human. And one of the things we do terribly is estimating. We think change is going to look very linear, right? Yeah. Here's our productivity. We're going to make a personality change or whatever. We'll dip a little bit. We understand that there's going to be some messiness. And then we'll instantly find results and improve. But what does change really look like? Let's be honest. What does that change look like? Yeah. This is change. I remember when I heard about this, and saw a graph similar to this, but honestly, it's this roller coaster. And a lot of times I know it feels like time went backwards because you had to take several steps back. Every time you'll take 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back, or inverse, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. It doesn't matter. Life is messy. Life will throw you a loop. 2 weeks ago, I had 102 fever. I'm still suffering from, I don't know, chest congestion, bronchitis, whatever itis is out there, all while I'm trying to come up with this new format of podcast or grow my school communities so that I can help as many people as possible. And yes, I have been pushing it a lot lately. The momentum reset is for your daily dose of shenanigans and recognition and just like bite-sized change every day consistently in order to grow. But I'd love for you to join because we have a lot of fun over there. Tomorrow, I'm running a Failbank workshop. I love running Failbank workshops because it will help you detach your identity from failure. It's so important. In fact, my Misogi challenge, a Misogi challenge is a year defining challenge that is so hard, you're likely to fail. And my Misogi challenge is to talk on the TEDx stage, and the likelihood of it happening is very unlikely, but it's all about resilience. I'm applying to TEDx's every week. And what is the topic I'm going to talk about? The Failbank. Failbank, failure in general, and how we go through life thinking failure is debt, but no, it is the currency of which we can reinvest to growth. And that's the deepest root of this whole thing. So this is what change actually looks like. And don't think you're broken or anything bad is happening. It's just, it is what it is. And it's okay to not be okay. All right. Well, there is just one caveat to this. There is a difference between lost, right? Not sure where you're going, can't find your keys or anything like that, no direction, and being between versions. Now, granted, I use this meme or this comic of a phoenix because phoenixes will shed their old shell, right? Engulf themselves in flames and then evolve again. But sometimes, sometimes we just have to laugh at it, right? Because we'll get there and they're like, maybe this wasn't in it. Maybe this version wasn't it. That's that whole hedonic treadmill. You're always trying to get to the next best thing. This is why I try to preach and tell everybody, you need to enjoy life. Enjoy the process. Become a scientist and just experiment and enjoy and be curious like a scientist. So, yes, if you don't have direction, you're lost. But if you know where you want to go or what you're trying to do, you're just between versions. So that, I would say that was like step 0 or sign 0 of whether or not you're between versions. So, all right. Look at this. See, I fail forward. My line got lost. So when you're in that messy middle, what are the 4 signs that you are actually between versions? Well, sign number 1, your old environments don't quite fit. They feel tight. Not necessarily the more cowbell part of this skit, but the fact that his shirt, I'll never be able to unsee his belly button because of it. But he obviously doesn't fit that outfit. But inside of this, the sign, right? Like you feel like that square peg trying to force yourself into that old round hole. And you'll feel drained in certain scenarios. And what gave you that joy may not be doing it for you. And this is the one that actually kills me because I talked a little bit about it in my last video. Is like, you may feel alone. That messy middle, you can actually begin to, what almost feels alienating, but it's not that you're alienating people or people are alienating you. It's just when you're in the unknown, a lot of times you're just inside and you're looking more inward. And that is not a flaw. That is just you beginning to choose. And when you unlock that space between, signal and response, a lot of times we create that space and it feels as though no one can talk to us because we're just always in our head. So sign number 1 is that you just don't fit that old mold. Now, sign number 2, right? I preface it. You feel internally restless. You feel like you're inside and everything else feels a bit boring. things that light you up or used to light you up, like little challenges or anything like that. You just got so good that it's just not that challenging anymore. And you're just like, I'm done with this. What it could even be a game that you always enjoyed, and then all of a sudden, you know what? I grew out of this. An example of this is I used to play World of Warcraft many, many, many years ago, and it just didn't light me up anymore. Even though I was like top, kicking butt, collecting gold, killing monsters, all sorts of fun. It was and connecting with people. I'd rather just sit there and talk with people. So I didn't need to pay for a subscription and waste my time to play a game. No, I was growing. Another aspect of this is like your interactions with people can feel empty. The individuals that you commiserated over some of those older things that challenged you, they're not there yet. So you just can't connect with them. You also internally, and a lot of this is from my own personal experience, but you just can't stop asking yourself, like, is there something more? Is there something more? Now, obviously, whenever we accomplish something, we have this dopamine release. And that's a signal too, right? That's a sign too. If you're not getting that happy chemical inside your brain release after you do something, well, then maybe you're just not there anymore. Maybe you're at the next level. So what's sign number 2 or number 3? You've raised your standards quietly. Now, here's another one that my example is I used to watch a lot of anime to fill my time. But now I'm listening to audiobooks, watching TED Talks. I'm doing all sorts of different things to expand my mind because I'm leaning fully into psychology. I just finished Man's Search for Meaning. A lot of the stuff that Viktor Frankl talked about, especially with logotherapy, I align with. And I'm like, I'm the smartest psychologist in the world because I stumbled on this myself. No, a lot of the books that I read, a lot of the content that I consume, there are a lot of the same concepts from Stoicism. And it's just about how you approach and tackle some of the ways in logotherapy. One of the things that I love is the paradoxical um, paradoxical challenge or intentional. That's what it is. Paradoxical intention. For instance, if you are having trouble falling asleep, instead of agonizing over the fact that you can't fall asleep, you say, not only am I not going to fall asleep, I'm going to stay up for 72 hours. In fact, one of my best friends, actually, brother from another mother, James, once said he wanted to operate under a 25-hour day. Well, I think he lasted maybe 2 or 3 days, and he called in sick to work. And in the middle of the voicemail, he fell asleep. And then 5 minutes later of snoring on the voicemail, like it cut off, and then he called back, I think an hour later, and said, "Oh, I think I fell asleep. I'm not coming in." Sorry for the divergence. Let's get back to the standards, right? You may not have told anyone. And also, another caveat to this is like you may not even have realized it. Things to look for are when you're being short with people and you stop going into environments where they don't light you up or they put you in situations that you don't want to be in. You stop consuming the same type of content. Different experiences bring different energy. And some of the old experiences drain you. These are the things that you need to look out for. These are some of the signs when you're in the messy middle and that maybe your standards have changed. So what's sign number 4? Sign number 4 is you feel alone, but not desperate. That second half is really important. I mentioned earlier, other people don't resonate with you, so they may avoid you, or you just are short with them because your standards are changed. You are inside yourself, trying to chip away at yourself, find who you want to be. And that power, that decision, a lot of times doesn't mean that you're like alone and like, I just need to talk with someone. No, you actually feel comfort. inside of yourself. There's a peace within you because you're still hibernating and trying to figure out who you want to be in the next step. And you're focused. Again, like I said, signal very beginning, lost means no direction. Messy middle of evolutional window of your personality, that's when you have direction and you know where you're going. So you may feel alone, but you don't feel like you have to be with other people. Why does this feel so damn uncomfortable? Well, identity death is so destabilizing, right? You just don't know because a lot of times you haven't decided how you want to react to certain things. So you experiment. I like to tell people whenever you need to find yourself, you go wide in order to go deep. This is a principle in essentialism. And I'm not saying you need to go um, a mile wide, inch deep kind of thing. No, I'm saying every day, try something uncomfortable. See if it lights you up. Could be talking to a stranger. Could be go buy a plant, try to keep it alive. Just something small. Go draw. Go color. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I can't color in the lines. I probably would experiment with that. Maybe one day I can stay focused long enough because I stayed in the lines. I know that's going to be an epic day when I color a picture and I stayed in the lines the whole time. I just don't have the patience. Our brains also crave that certainty. The amygdala, again, is that brain that the part of the brain that keeps us safe. In the hunter-gathering era, the amygdala made sure we didn't die. We went out and looked for food and there was a rustling in the bush. The amygdala said, who cares what it is? Go. That same part of the brain still exists within us today, but our situations are different. And therefore, trying to evolve or change with everything in this world is a little bit more complex because it isn't just run away. We got bills to pay. We can't just run away. We can't what's his name? Victor Creed. Creed in The Office. Oh, I just kill an identity off and just move on. Right? We can't do that. That's identity fraud and all sorts of tax evasion and everything else. There's also this other thing that the ego, right? The ego is the outside identity. That outside identity, the ego likes to regress to what we love, like what keeps us safe. Because external people will expect us to operate that way. And the ego doesn't like to disappoint. The ego likes to mingle. The ego also wants to increase the status, the power, our external ego is all about getting external validation. And it doesn't like the change because we know within this space, this hierarchy, we're good. But the inner self is where we do all of this work. And I'm not going to lie to you. If we look back at the I got to let's go back, right? If we look back at what actually change looks like. Beginning of transition. If we were actually running through this, most people probably as soon as they hit this, right? That first loop or, back down here and then we're regressing. As soon as we hit that, a lot of times we go back. Or maybe you have a kid that gets sick. Just this past weekend, I had to fix my dryer and my dishwasher. And yeah, we were looking at dishwashers, but luckily my father-in-law said, "Oh, look, I found a YouTube video. Maybe we just need to fix the pump or replace the pump." So instead of spending $1,000, we spent 50. We saved money. A lot of people would just give up and they abandon it because our brains are wired to keep us safe, and what is known is safe. All right, so let's get back to the very last aspect of this, okay? What do we do when we're in this gap? What do we do? 3 steps. Very easy. Don't rush the reattachment. This is super important. You cannot rush this because with time, it reinforces where you want to go. But when you try to consolidate that identity change into a quick change, it's consistency, not intensity. When you try to condense it with intensity, it never sticks. It never sticks. Okay. Step number 2, clarify what you're no longer available for, right? Create the boundaries. By creating the boundaries when you're in those situations, people try to put you in those situations. Use the 2 most powerful words, I am, right? I am not interested in that. I am interested in this. You clarify your boundaries and what you're no longer available for. And the last part, right? While we're in that messy middle, the gap, reclaim that internal leadership. This is creating the space to think long enough. So on those bad days, right? This is why I tell everyone, you got to create a bad day excellence plan when you're trying to implement any sort of habits or changes in your life. On the crazy day, what is that 1% move? What is that one little thing that you could do? You want to lose weight? What's that one little thing that you could do? Just put on your gym shoes. Why? Because when life is crazy, that one little action tends to build into another little action. And then that builds into another little action. And when you stack those little wins, you win at life because now you figured out how to keep yourself in motion. When you're between versions, you don't need more noise. You need recalibration. And if you're in that messy middle, in between space, I've built specifically for this phase in life something called the momentum reset. And it's free. And I wanted it to be free because I'm on this mission to help 9.5 million people over the next now 4. And I figured, like, let's go, right? Like, how can I create like a 5-day reset for people to begin to create the awareness and begin to create that space? And tomorrow I mentioned it earlier, we're doing a fail bank workshop. I've got other workshops. We did an identity funeral last week. And it's all about leading yourself again before the world catches up. There's no pressure, but if you're ready to move with intention, instead of drifting through this chaotic life, the momentum reset is your next step. So come join us. I'm Brian Walsh, your guide to habit crafting and biggest champion. Thanks for tuning in to Bad Day Excellence. See you next time.